Today is a special day, Newnan. Instead of experiencing the normal Newnan Time with Harold podcast in all of its excellency, you will experience a story of an almost true crime. You can tell it's a true crime because I'm talking as if one of the victims is in the room with me and I'm being very sensitive. But really, I'm just setting the mood. An almost true crime, Harriet the Spy from our Peachtree City Spy episode will be joining me as we improvise a true crime story. All we need is a seed word, which we got from a listener. And we will we will immerse you in a true crime unlike anything you've ever heard before, because no one's heard it before, because we're making it up as we go along. Will this story be heartbreaking? Meh. Will it be confusing? Meh. Don't know. Will it be hilarious? No, don't ask me. But it will be an almost true crime. Coweta County. The word is wasp.
All right.
W-A-S-P. Wasp. Like a bee, but skinny and long.
Thank you for clarifying.
That's more like a dragonfly. Go ahead.
That's true. In the state of Georgia.
Oh.
In a small, but also kind of large town, multiple towns actually, where this crime took place. We're first going to look at Peachtree City, where everything began. Right by Drake Field, just off of Lake Peachtree. We interviewed the local police force, and we talked to detectives Jason Wall and Ariana Flower. Detectives Wallflower, where they told us all about the local wasp killer.
And, Jason Wall, the local wasp killer, local to our town, but also other towns as previously established. He's a serial killer. Well, we say he because we assume, partly because the population of Peachtree City is 80% white male golfers. So it's easy to assume with the Peachtree City PD, PTC, that the killer must be a white man. But at this point, we're only basing that off of assumptions. My partner, Ariana Flower, can tell us more about the strain of victims that have been found here around the Drakefield area.
Yes, I can do that. I do believe it could be an 80-year-old man, but I'm also holding out hope it could be a woman. I think women can be killers. Now, looking at the strain of victims, most of them have been women. Now, we found several bodies that have surfaced from Lake Peachtree. And in their bodies, speaking to the local mortician and the person who did the autopsy, this is the mortician, we've seen that several of these bodies have, in fact, all of these bodies in several different locations, look like they have several sting marks. That they could be needles, but it looks very much like a wasp sting. Now, we've seen it in their arms, and right where the vein is, where you find the blood. And we've seen several in the legs and the feet, and quite literally all over the body in several fatal areas. And we do believe this is the cause of death. Why they're thrown into the lake, we believe, is to cover up the bodies. However, the killer is not doing a very good job because they are surfacing very quickly. Several kayakers who have been over Lake Peachtree, and we'll talk to a couple of them, have found these bodies just in the middle of their kayaking session.
Now, we do believe, if I can interrupt you for a minute, that the bodies found in Newnan may not even be part of this case. As you see, there's a drug epidemic in Newnan that it's hard for Newnan to think, wow, there's these stings all in their body. That's probably just doing drugs, right? Right, Ariana?
I completely agree with that. It's a real problem.
But
And
over in Peachtree City, we ain't got a drug problem here.
no, everything's perfect.
Right, no pills. We barely even have alcohol besides champagne.
We just have kayaks.
Just have kayaks and a golf club so we can play some kayak ball.
That's very true. It's my favorite sport, and it could be the killer's favorite sport as well.
And that's what we're going to investigate here today. I think the thing that makes this case so confusing is right here, right now, it's January. It's real cold. There shouldn't be no wasp or bees.
It's freezing. In fact, some of the water had frozen over, which is why it was so easy to find some of the bodies, because they had half frozen out of the water.
And some of them were just placed on top of the ice.
The killer didn't even bother to
No,
them
not
under
at all.
the ice. He just threw them in and hoped they'd break the ice. When they didn't, we can only assume that the killer, who could be a woman or a white male in his 80s, just left. Because nobody's going to make the effort to break ice.
3 bodies. 3 bodies had been found in Lake Peachtree since the months of November 2023 to, what we say, January 2024. And of these 3 bodies, they all fit a very specific profile. They were all women, aged 30 to 32. They all had a blonde bob, like, Reese Witherspoon in Sweet Home Alabama, which maybe isn't so much of a bob, but it's like above the shoulders. I don't know what do you call that?
Not very long hair.
Oh, yeah.
Like the youth might call it like the Karen cut.
No, I was thinking more like Reese Witherspoon in Sweet Home Alabama cut.
Yeah.
But the youth are wrong. We don't use the K word.
No.
And on all these bodies, aside from the stingers, they all not only had their ID, but they had the ID of someone else that wasn't them. What can we explore that more?
Of course. Now, taking a closer inspection on the bodies, just like the other narrator spoke, they both not only had their IDs, but also the ID of several local famous golfers.
Did you just say just like the other narrator spoke?
Yes. We're breaking the fourth wall with this one. Yes. Now the IDs found were several local famous golfers like Mike and Gabe. They don't have last names because golfers don't have last names. They're too focused on their crafts.
I think that's one of the weirdest parts about this is that of the 3 bodies, they each had both those IDs on them of Mike and Gabe rather than a third ID. So it seems like the killer photocopied the IDs and put each ID on each body. So each body had Gabe and Mike. But we do have an interview with Gabe the golfer who says he is completely innocent. Let's go to that interview.
Yo, I don't know.
Excuse me?
Sorry, I should probably talk a little less like this. My name's Gabe. Look, I'm completely innocent. I don't know why they found those IDs. Look, I don't even have an ID on me most of the time, okay? I drive without a license. I drive on the golf field. I drive without a license. I walk without a license. You can't pin any of this on me.
But when speaking to Mike, things didn't quite line up like they should. Let's hear that interview.
Yeah, I carry my license with me all the time. In fact, I'm very, very vigilant about keeping my ID on me. If I was ever pulled over by local police department, I need to make sure I've got my ID on me and my insurance and any other thing that could possibly identify me. In fact, I'm very connected to my ID. I am never separated from my ID if I can help it.
Yeah, and Ariana Flower and I, we sat down with both Gabe and Mike. We asked them where they had been every night from November through January. And something really stuck out to me is even though Mike says he never separates from his ID, we have videotape evidence of him frequenting the Alamo in Newnan, where, in order to get inside, he had to release his ID to the bouncer.
Know what would go great right here? Your ad, your business, your services. Or maybe just your rant about how roundabouts are crop circles by redneck aliens. Whatever you need to say, we'll help you say it. Contact noonantimewithharold@gmail.com for more information.
The Wasp Killer. The victims. 3 found in Lake Peachtree. On the ice. In the ice. Sometimes under the ice. But always found. Unless there were more victims, which haven't been found yet. The bodies were found from November through January. The only lead, Mike and Gabe. We go down to an exclusive interview with the bouncer of the Alamo.
Yeah, I know Mike and Gabe. Mike and Gabe are real good friends of mine. You know, we check local IDs all the time. There's a real problem up here near the Alamo and in Newnan in general. So many drugs, so many dealers. We gotta make sure none of them are getting in here. We ain't got no drug dealers in the Alamo, let me tell ya. And I take great pride in being a bouncer. I don't let no one in here that shouldn't be in here. But Mike and Gabe, they're good guys. I let them in here. They take the 2 same benches. They're usually sitting next to Jen. She's always at the bar, And she usually just orders a grilled cheese over there. We don't know why she's over there, what we do, because she's ordering a grilled cheese. But she's a good girl. She's a good gal. She'd never harm a fly or a wasp. And, usually sitting over there by the booth, we also got Steve. Steve likes to order those little garlic nuts, those are good ones. The real good garlic nuts.
I'm Steve. I really do like the garlic nuts. I tried to get a whole pizza once, and it was just too much food. My cats won't eat it. So when I go back to my apartment, when I go back to the basement, and I try to feed the cats, you can hear them in the background. I find the garlic nuts are way better for them. The cats are so well behaved.
Yeah, he's a real good guy, that's Steve. I remember visiting him in his basement apartment. He's got real good cats. They always like them little forehead scratches. He'd never harm a fly either. Now, listen, we've had some real fishy characters around here. I'm sure you might have seen some walking around like, hey, you ever seen this guy? He likes to walk around downtown Newnan a lot. He's always scratching his arm. I think his name is Dave. Something Dave. I checked his IDs, but he always finds him walking around downtown Newnan. I'm sure you could find him if you look around.
That is when the detectives of Peachtree City had to send the case over to Newnan, as the evidence kept piling up that our killer was probably a Newnan local. They went straight to Detective Stormcrow.
Oh yeah, Dave just walks around all the time. Hey, listen, there's a lot of people that walk around this town, and they look a little suspicious, but we don't like to point fingers. You know, just because they're scratching their arms and carrying suspicious bags, that could be drugs. Could be just powdered sugar. We need a warrant if we're gonna search them.
And that's exactly what the Newnan police got. They started going door to door to every single house with anyone that's ever scratched their arm with a search warrant. They broke down homes. They arrested kids with chicken pox.
Oh man!
They got some eczema brats and threw them in the patrol car. If you had an itch, the Newnan police would make you their bitch. And they kept doing this day in and day out until they finally reached the house of Jen with the grilled cheese, where something suspicious was going on in her kitchen.
Yeah, I'm making some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I add a special ingredient sometimes. You want to see what it is, officers?
We were very confused when we first met Jen. I'm Detective Stormcrow. Jen seemed like such a nice lady at the bar. She wore a leather jacket. She had the personality of being into motorcycles, but she didn't own a motorcycle. She drove like a really beaten down white SUV where like there's black bruises all over it and you can see the metal, but she had the personality of a Harley Davidson rider. You know, it's what every woman in downtown Newnan is like. The personality of Harley Davidson with the budget of a beaten down SUV. And when we showed up and we went to Jen, the smell was something stronger than bread and cheese. It was the smell of, I don't know if wasps make honey, but for the sake of this, it was the smell of honey. So thick in the air that you could hear a bear a mile away turn and start making its way to Jen's house. By house, I mean trailer park.
My secret ingredient, officers, is wings. Not the kind of wings that you're thinking, though. You want to know what it is, officers?
I thought you said it was wings, but go ahead.
Well, specifically,
Oh, right.
insect wings. Now, you see, with the red streak in my hair, I like to be a little bit fun sometimes, a little bit dangerous. I like to live life on the edge, if you can believe it. Sometimes I just go out to my car. I'm working on getting something different. And I just kick it. But I need fuel for that, officers, and there's only one way to get fuel. And that's by killing insects. And putting them into my meal.
The Newnan police realized that this woman was just a weirdo. But there in the back room, they heard another noise. And when they kicked in the door, they found a staircase. Down that staircase into the basement is where the Newnan police found Steve eating a plate of garlic knots, surrounded by wasps. Newnan police quickly arrested Steve because, as already established, their profile was a white man. And Steve was a white man. When brought into questioning, Steve broke down and started talking about the drug epidemic and how that had reached all the way to Peachtree City. Can you do Steve?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, like,
That's not a very good Steve.
in Peachtree City, there's
That's an even worse Steve. Go ahead.
there's a lot of really really bad drug problems. Listen. I know I partaken in a lot of drugs. Sometimes, yeah, garlic knots just don't do it. Sometimes, they just don't take the edge off. Sometimes, and sometimes I just need something a little different, and then something on top of that. See, wasps are they got certain properties, and when you're taking drugs, sometimes it kind of itches. It kind of just pricks you a little bit, and you need something to take that edge off. And we got a lot of wasps from this guy that walks around downtown Newnan. I think his name was, well, he doesn't like to give out his name sometimes, but Dave. Don't tell him I said that though, because if you tell him, he might not sell me drugs anymore. I know I'm currently being questioned by the police, but I'm sure you guys have bigger problems than busting little old me.
Could it be? Were the Newnan police finally gonna find their criminal? Was it the first introduced drug dealer in the entire story? Well, the Newnan police showed up. They found him. They found him in his home with wasps, stinging them on a woman's arm, while simultaneously sticking them with needle drugs, which we have not specified which ones, which is okay. And they immediately arrested him, and Dave gave him the whole spiel about what he's been up to.
Listen.
Oh, he sounds like a drug dealer.
Yeah, I'm kind of a stereotypical guy. I'm really not sure why I wasn't a suspect before, knowing my tone of voice. I think it throws them off because I'm just so obvious, man. Listen, guys gotta make a living down here in downtown Newnan. I had a good thing going at the Alamo. Until freaking bouncer. I don't like to call him by his first name. He's just a bouncer to me. Because he bounced me out of there, man. But, listen, I lost a customer base. So I decided, next best place. Who needs drugs? People who play kayak ball, man. So I went down to Peachtree City. You know, it was real cold over there. I had a jacket on so they couldn't see the wasps that I had in my jacket. And I talked to a lot of local kayakers, man. Nobody's gonna miss a kayaker, except other kayakers. But I gave them the drugs, man. I gave them the drugs. And then I wasn't expecting to hurt them, man. I just wanted to make a living, okay? And when I injected them, and then I put the wasps in them, you know, Peachtree City people, they can't handle it. They don't see wasps that a lot because it's cold this time of the year, January 2024. So when they started like convulsing and overheating, I assumed it was because that those drugs, it was kind of like overheating their system, man. It was so cold, it was a shock to their systems. I thought I could cool them down.
Trying to cool them down? That was my daughter. One of the victims was my daughter. And I didn't feel like he was trying to cool anyone down. Why would you need to place a copy of Mike and Gabe's identifications if you're trying to cool someone down? It doesn't add up. I want to get revenge on my daughter, and I hope the justice system properly punishes this Dave fella.
Look, about the IDs. I mean, man, I panicked. Okay, I take people's IDs sometimes when I'm giving them the drugs, and Mike and Gabe, they're such good guys. I thought surely if they find their IDs on this person's body, they're gonna think it was an accident. Cause Mike and Gabe, man, they never kill somebody. So if they think those two did it, they wouldn't think those two did it, because they could just never do that to people. And listen, I panicked, man.
The case was in court for, how long's it been since January? 5 months. The jury changed out 12 times. They deliberated. They deliberated for 6 days until they finally reached a verdict. Innocent. For reason of Peachtree City residents also do drugs. We got this interview with Dave, the Scratchy Wasp Killer, which we still call him a killer, even though he was found innocent on his way out of the courtroom.
Man, this publicity's been real nice. I'm glad I've been innocent. Kinda sorry about the people, man. I'm really sorry about that. I had a talk with that one girl's mother. She's real nice, man, when she wasn't yelling at me. Listen, I'll never do it again. Put people on ice. I'm probably still gonna sell drugs. But look, I think the moral of, like, all of this and, like, what I've learned is, like, don't put too many wasps on people, because it does overload them. You have to build them up to it. You have to build them up to wasp sting drugs. That's what I've learned from this whole debacle.
Due to the inability to take responsibility for their citizens, Detectives Wallflower were removed from duty and sent to the penitentiary.
You know, I was just really hoping it would be Jen. I think that women could be killers. And now I've committed crimes. Criminal neglect.
I hope you had a good time with this dumb thing that we just did. And I just want to let you guys know that we recorded this the earliest I've ever recorded anything in my life. So I can say the words debilitated. I can say the words deliberated. I can say wasp without spelling it out. I can say penitentiary. What do you call it? The prison. It's not penitentiary. I don't think that's a word. Penitentiary? I don't think I'm helping myself here. Love you.